Welcome to Comic Toy Reviews, and this video topic is a little different, and maybe it is a little controversial, but it is just my opinion, and only my opinion as a fan of comic books. And so, you know, everyone has different opinions, and you don't even gotta agree with it. Anyway, my opinion is that the team of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby built 75% of the Marvel Universe that is relevant, that has lasted, and that we know about. I would say 10% of that world, because it is such an important character, is Steve Ditko. So that's 85%, and other creators have only contributed about 15% to the whole entire Marvel Universe, everyone else combined. So 75% Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, 10% the work that Steve Ditko did with Stan Lee, and 15% for everyone else. And here's some of the reasoning. And more power should go to the artists, because they had a lot more say than Stan Lee. They did the character designs, the costumes, and the plotting of stories and all of that. When you look at the team of what Stan Lee did with Jack Kirby, let's just talk about characters. And I was going to make a separate video on this, but I'll just say it here. Unfortunately for Jack Kirby, especially for his era, he didn't live to see it. You know, had he still been around. And for his family, you know. He got the most, lack of a better word, he got the most screwed in terms of what his characters have contributed to not only Marvel Comics but pop culture, and what little reward he got or that he could pass on to his family. Because you look at the movie industry, other than Spider-Man and Wolverine, just about all of these movies that you see have characters that he either did the character designs for and therefore co-created, or he helped give ideas that made the characters in his work with Stan Lee. Let's start with some of the big ones. So when I say he contributed it with Stan Lee about 75% of the Marvel Universe, especially that's relevant and lasted, look at what they're doing in movies now with these same characters. The Fantastic Four, all four of the original members, as well as their main villains of Doctor Doom, the Silver Surfer, and Galactus. Not to mention the Black Panther, and the Inhumans, and the Watcher, the Skrulls, the Super Skrull. And that's just the beginning. All of these characters are mainstays in the Marvel Universe. You got the original X-Men, you got Cyclops, you got Jean Grey, you got the Beast, you got the Iceman, the Angel, you got Professor X, you got Magneto, you got the Sentinels, you got the Juggernaut. Even Bolivar Trask is going to be in an X-Men movie. Just about all those characters I mentioned on the X-Men have been on film or animated series. Same thing with the Fantastic Four, film or animated series. Then you got characters like Nick Fury. Even though there's variations in the movie version, it's still Nick Fury and it's similar. Then you got Thor. You got the Hulk. More movie characters. Then you got Iron Man. Jack Kirby didn't have much input there, but he did design the original bulky gray armor, and they did use that as inspiration for the first Iron Man Mark I suit used in the movie. Speaking of Thor, you got Loki. He was in the Avengers movie. You got Odin, you got the Destroyer, you got the Warriors 3. Again, these are more movie characters, okay? And mainstays in comic books. You got Ant-Man, Giant Man, Wasp. These are movie characters in the future as well, or at least potentially. And more mainstay characters in comic books. And while I could go on and on, the main point of this video is that a whole bunch of characters that have lasted and been around in comic books that you know of are now in movies Jack Kirby's family gets no money for that, okay? And he himself, had he still been around, he would have had no money in those movie properties. All the characters just about that are relevant in the Marvel Universe, he either co-created with Stan Lee or had a big hand in it. And then I give the 10% of the equation to the work of Steve Ditko and what he did with Stan Lee, because he's the one who really built Spider-Man. He's the one that contributed more ideas than Stan Lee and made that character what he was. And no, it wasn't Jack Kirby when you look into it, because his version would have went totally one way, and it would not have been the character and icon that we know of as Spider-Man. It was a totally different thing, those ideas. So you look at, even though Steve Ditko only contributed one main character of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange to a smaller degree, you look at all of the characters in the Spider-Man world that he created, and he contributed a lot with Stan Lee, because Spider-Man is like the third biggest icon next to Superman and Batman. All other superheroes, after Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man, all other ones are like levels below in recognition and popularity and in what they mean to comic book fans the world over. And not even comic book fans, just fans in general. Because not only did Steve Ditko create with Stan Lee Spider-Man, he created the world that he lives in. You look at character villains that have appeared in movies. You got the Green Goblin. You got Dr. Octopus, okay? Another movie character, villain. You got the Chameleon, you got the Vulture. You got Sandman, who appeared in a movie, along with the Lizard. Another popular character. You got Electro. You got Mysterio. Kraven Hunter, probably a future movie villain. Scorpion. He created about a dozen of the main Spider-Man villains that are relevant, as well as supporting characters that are still around or mentioned in the books that are famous. You got Aunt May, you got Betty Brant, you got Gwen Stacy, Liz Allen, Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn. Just the whole world of Spider-Man. Not only him, but the supporting characters and the main villains. All of that is the work of one artist. More so than the writing of Stan Lee. And so, I have to give him like 10%. It's one character, but it's just so powerful in the world created. So that's 75% plus 10%, that's 85%. And I would say, honestly, 15% is everyone else. 15%. Because none of the other characters in that 15%, outside of Wolverine's popularity and the Punishers, is really at that level of being an icon that is remembered or will be around for decades. So many characters made in the Marvel Universe, other than those creators that I mentioned, are just characters who never really rise above a certain level, can hold or maintain their own book, or even last, because so many characters may just fade out and are gone, and you'll see them once in a while, but there really is no lasting appeal to them. And think about it. Without the characters I mentioned, by those three comic book creators, how much of the Marvel Universe would matter? It would be like a third string company, because every major crossover that matters features characters created by those three creators. Think of a Marvel Universe crossover that does not have characters of those three creators. And you really can't. All the characters that are relevant, that matter, were created in the 1960s. And speaking of crossover material, chances are on crossover material, you're going to see the likes of Spider-Man, Captain America, the Hulk, Iron Man, some of the Fantastic Four, some of the X-Men, Thor. And that's just an example. And so this video, just thought I would talk about it. I originally was going to make 2, but I think the points are relevant for both of them. And comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.